I'm going to ask you to do a simple math today. How many hours do you spend in the office? Yes, at minimum. Some of us spend 8 hours a day, and then 8 hours into 5 days, that's 40 hours. But we all know that we spend at least twice the amount at work. Now, what does that do to you? For some who are able to have a life outside of work and who have a sense of balance, generally by nature, do better because they enjoy their weekends, they enjoy their evenings, they find their spots. But some of us struggle. We don't know how to switch off. I'm talking to Ketki Chandavarkar today, who is an executive and leadership coach. And she has a journey of her own. She has 15 years of experience in the corporate world, but at some point decided to quit her brand manager role, right, and move on to something else. Welcome to another episode of Humans at Work. And now I'm going to hand the mic over to my guest today to tell us her story in her words.
Hi, Chetna. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to be here. Well, my story, it started off with a very glamorous industry, which is fashion retail. I was in it for 15 years and I worked my way up the ladder. I started off as a buyer, then became a brand manager. But through that entire journey, I felt like I was not feeling as fulfilled. And still the pressures and everything that came along with the job and along with what my personal life trajectory was also, so many things changed. And the reason why I decided to take a break from corporate world first started off with my burnout. And I realized that something was not feeling okay and I needed to take a break just to reflect and understand what was going on. So when I did that and I started my own entrepreneurial journey after taking a good break and like what people say, let's go for a vacation, let's Netflix and chill for some time, which I did. But what I didn't realize is there's so much more to feeling burnt out than just doing a job.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this then, but then I did whatever I had to, started a new business, which because of COVID and also my continued symptoms, failed. And that totally led to my burnout, through which I had to completely reset because so many things were not working. It almost felt like a robot who had gotten short-circuited and suddenly was flailing all over the place, not knowing where to stop or make sense of these things. So when I actually healed and recovered from my burnout, I realized I wanted to pivot my career. And instead of going back into a fashion retail career, which I knew very well, I felt the call to do something more, which was to start my own coaching business and actually bring to the forefront how simple reset can be, especially if you've burnt out. And even otherwise, when you feel like there is some change coming about, how simple that reset can be that can help you blossom into something greater.
Okay, so I have a question here. When you first felt burnt out, right? What did you feel? Like, what were the symptoms? What was going on? Because a lot of us, especially our generation, we're very used to pushing through.
Yeah.
We function through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's also because we're raised and conditioned like that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it's burnout again is not... It's not a very old term. We've put a label to it very recently.
Yes, yes.
Right? So what does that feel like?
So when I first started, and I'll give you some years, right? So in 2016, when I first realized something was not okay, is when I fell asleep in my car at the traffic signal. And I jumped up with such a scare because I was like, what happened? How did this happen? And luckily, I was safe. It hadn't moved. All that was great. But I realized then something was not okay. And I was trying to do everything because not only was I a career ambitious woman, I was also a new mother. And so trying to do all of those roles perfectly, right? That is also I put that pressure on myself. So one, I was exhausted all the time. And then I started feeling disconnected. So even though I was going through the rhythms, I was doing everything that needed to be done. Deliverables were being met. My child was having the birthday of, what Pinterest would like to see. all of those things, but I wasn't connecting to it emotionally. And that also started affecting how I mothered my child. Because in a way, I was trying to do so much for him, and the poor guy didn't really ask for all of this. He just wanted a present mother.
Yeah.
And I was getting so frustrated that this wasn't enough. So all these small things over time, I think just makes you lose it
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
So I would say those were my symptoms, and it's pretty much the symptoms what I see in my clients as well. Definite disconnection, because
Right.
they're going through the rhythms and they are not conscious of what they are even doing. It's just like a default program. And then suddenly one day they wake up, like as if they've been sleeping. They wake up and they're like, this is not where I wanted to reach. And that's when the whole journey of my
Or
coaching with
sometimes
them
that
starts.
is where they wanted to reach, but they didn't realize this would be the cost of it, right?
Yes, yes.
Or that this is where they wanted to reach, they knew the cost of it, but now they don't want it anymore.
Exactly.
That's also a piece.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And for some of them, they've reached here, and now what?
Oh, the now what is
Yeah.
because we all want a what next, right?
Yes.
It has to be ready.
Yes, there always
And-
has to be a next.
Next.
Yes.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. Okay. So you pivoted. You went on and became executive and leadership coach.
Yeah.
I know that you have a program. You call it the Phoenix Method.
Yeah.
You have a whole way of kind of coaching people out of
Yes.
burnout and helping them reset. Right. That's essentially what you specialize
Yeah.
in. What do you think are the most common causes? Like, what are the most common causes when you're looking at your clients and you're saying that if I changed these three mindsets or these three elements in their environment or in the system that they're in,
Yeah.
then we could have avoided this in them?
Yeah. So I would say the biggest one that I see is the self-inflicted pressure and chronic stress. Everything becomes stressful.
Right.
And the second one I would say is resistance to change. Because as we're evolving every day, even the way you do your job changes. Because after some time, there are certain things in your job that come easier than
Yeah.
other things. So that means you've evolved. So now there's a new way of doing it, because there's actually a 1% that you can learn something different in the same job that you've been doing. But a lot of people even resist that much of change. And in that, what I have seen is because they want to still just do that much and just stay that much, but they still want the promotion. There is like this tug of war, saying, but why am I not getting it? I know how to do this. But to get to the next level, there is an element of change that a lot of people resist. So pressure on themselves, resisting change, and not knowing how to process their emotions. A lot of people, and I coach a lot more women, and I've seen so many of them say, I want to manifest this. I want to manifest this life. I want to do all of these things. And that's great. I can help you do that. But to be able to manifest, you also have to know what is your reality. A lot of people think that staying positive, whatever that means, it means not for them. I've seen that it's denying or dismissing what is currently actually happening to them. So if you're not going to accept what's happening to you now, how do you know what is better?
Yeah. And it's something very similar to, I had a conversation recently about gratitude, and somebody constantly saying, be grateful, be grateful, be grateful, be grateful. And I'm like, okay, but you cannot be grateful, or you don't have to, not that you cannot, you don't have to be grateful by denying something that's not good in your life.
Yeah.
You can acknowledge that something is sad and something is not good and something makes you feel hopeless.
Yeah.
But you can still be thankful for 5 other things.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's not, if you turn around and diss something in your life, which is genuinely not working out or
Yeah.
is genuinely causing you pain, that doesn't mean that your gratitude is not going to work.
Exactly.
But we have that, again, there's perfection there, right? We have these very clear lines. And it's also then not gratitude, it's coming from fear. Saying that if I complain, then my gratitude will not be accepted by the universe and I will not get what I want.
Exactly. So, in a way, it's denying what you're actually feeling
Right.
and masking it with toxic positivity.
Right. But it's very interesting, one of the things that you say, because a lot of your clients are women, high achievers,
Yeah.
right? And high achieving women, we are perfectionists because
Yeah.
we have been conditioned to believe that if we don't do this, we will never get anything that we want,
Yeah.
right? And we will not be chosen. And we will. So there's a lot of conditioning that's coming to
Yes.
it, right? All eyes are on us,
Yeah.
and it's intense
You have to prove yourself.
constantly.
Yeah.
However, we're also extremely emotional.
Yes.
Women in general are far more connected to their emotions.
Yes.
Right? And we also have better vocabulary for our emotions. It's not that we don't have it. Right? We have very floral vocabulary for our feelings. Where a lot of us are very eloquent.
Yeah.
Right? Ask the men in our lives. But how come they struggle to express what they're feeling? Is it expression or is it just not recognizing?
I think some of them are not aware.
Hmm.
See, venting to your friends and, doing a girls' evening where everyone's talking about what's not going well in their lives, or, just talking about, oh, this is the problem with my partner or work or whatever it is very different from actually just sitting and asking yourself, am I okay with this situation? Do I want to change it? Because there's a comfort zone, right? People love to complain, and that can also become a comfort zone. Saying that I love to complain, I know if I do XYZ, ABC will happen, and I will complain about ABC. I'm very comfortable staying here doing exactly this. What happens, and when the clients actually become my clients, is when they say, oh my God, I'm done complaining. I want to actually change to come to a place where I'm not complaining about at least this same thing anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that sort of awareness needs to happen. A lot of women, though we have our colorful language, we are not fully aware of what we want. We are very good at knowing what we don't want, but switch that around and ask them, okay, so if you don't want to complain, what do you want happening? Many people start then thinking, oh, what do I want?
So one of the rules in my session is, and I play taboo, you cannot use the phrase I don't know.
Ah, nice. Good.
You cannot use it.
Yeah.
So the moment they say I don't know, I say banned. And then they're like, trying to scrounge around for words. But a lot of people also say, I don't know, but you know how it is, ta 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 ta. And then I have to stop them and say, 1 second, you said I don't know, but then you said this, which means you know. They're not even realizing that they're hiding behind I don't know so that they don't have to take the action or do the work or accept. It's denial of sorts, right?
Yeah.
It's feigning ignorance subconsciously. And they don't realize it. But the interesting piece is when you say that they don't know what they want. They know what they don't want, but they don't know what they want. And they're not even willing to flip it. Just flip the sentence and see what comes. Just the idea of articulating something that we may want seems to be very scary.
It is, because I don't think they've given themselves that permission or that space. So when I hear my client says, I don't know, I switch it around by saying, let's play.
Right.
Because that kind of takes the pressure off of knowing.
Yeah.
Because not only do people not know, when they know, they want that answer to be right. They want that answer to be perfect.
Yeah.
So again, there's another barrier of self-pressure, right?
Right.
Self-inflicted pressure. So I just tell them, let's play. It's
Right.
okay that you don't know, but let's play. What could it be?
So I have a question here. A lot of what I talk about on this podcast, it's humans at work, because
Yeah.
what we don't realize is, sure, I'm an employee, sure, I'm a brand manager, sure, I'm a VP, sure, I'm an expert at ABC, but at the end of it, I'm human, right?
True.
And I'm a breathing, feeling, thinking person in a room doing certain tasks,
Yeah.
right? Which then lead to certain outcomes and they evoke certain feelings. This is who I am. In this scenario, what is happening with us in the workspace? that causes us to burn out? Now, I understand the self-inflicted pressure part, right? But that one piece is conditioning. I know a lot of people who don't pressurize themselves at all. They are very chill with who they are, and they're living and they're working and they're doing everything, and yet at some point they burn out. What is happening systemically that makes it unsafe for us to grow?
Very good question, and it's such a unique question. No one's asked me in that way before. You must be a coach. I think for the people who have been not putting pressure on themselves but now find themselves in a burnout situation, I think somewhere it comes from comparing where they may be to where others tell them they should be, or maybe comparing themselves to their contemporaries or their peers. And for someone who has suddenly just, what to them feels like overnight success, which is actually many years in the making. But for them, maybe that sort of comparison starts putting them in a very different state of mind and starts questioning, am I doing enough? Am I enough?
So you're circling back to the self-inflicted pressure piece,
Yeah.
right? Because somewhere they're then going into that and wondering where they are and what, or maybe the what next is bothering them.
Call it whatever you want, because I also know that we are in charge of our reality.
Right.
Because we can only understand what's happening in reality through the prism of our own experiences.
Right.
So everything that we are experiencing today, the language you're speaking to me in is my language, so I understand the words coming out of your mouth. But if I'm going to go to a completely new country where I don't know the language and they're speaking to me, I can make whatever meaning I want out of it because there's no context.
Yeah.
So everyone is making their own reality. So for a person who's been doing great, suddenly what could be the reason that they have self-inflicted a pressure on themselves which is changing this reality, right? So they have
Right.
to ask that to themselves.
To themselves. Okay. Tell me from a workplace space, right? How do we help people not burn out?
Wow.
Because, okay, let me also put it this way, right? We all need to work. Let's accept. Okay, we're not living in barter system. We need to earn money. Money drives this world. We need to work. We have dreams. We have goals. We have people to take care of. We have ourselves to take care of. So we need to earn money, number one. Number two, we need to be productive. We need to feel like our energy matters. We need to put it to use. And we need to feel a sense of success, validation, presence, recognition, all of that, right? Food. This is food of a certain kind that we need.
Yeah.
So work is not going anywhere. Now I'm going to work.
Yeah.
What needs to happen for somebody to do this happily, right? And grow in it? Because we're all choosing to grow. Nobody wants to enter the company at one level and stay there. So what needs to happen for us to kind of do this, grow, succeed happily?
Great. What I would say is knowing your non-negotiables. Because what I have realized is once you are feeling regulated, once you know how to cope or are in a resourceful state that when stress comes to you, you know how to handle it, how to manage it, and how to still move on from it, right? So that means your nervous system, you need to know how to regulate yourself. Now, how does one regulate themselves? There are so many different ways. There are so many different modalities. A lot of people come to coaching to learn how to process what they're feeling, become aware of what needs to be regulated to then learn those regulating and coping mechanisms, right? And what I've noticed is for every client, I have started asking them to list down their non-negotiables. So for that, that may mean having a morning ritual. So as soon as you wake up in the morning, what are the few things or maybe one thing that you do that kind of centers you, that kind of gets you prepared for the day?
Okay.
So it's almost getting yourself in a more resourceful state, saying, okay, today I know I'm going to have 10 things to do. I need to have energy to do all of these 10 things. So how do I build myself up to then get out there and do these 10 things? So having those non-negotiables really helps one person to start regulating themselves so that whatever happens in the day, they know they're okay. So I tell them, have a morning ritual
Yeah.
to energize yourself. At the end of the evening, when you come back, decompress.
Right.
Have another ritual to decompress.
Yeah.
Because it's not like many people ask me, how do I leave my work at work and, get into the house? I'm like, unless you have another body of yours, there's no way of changing who you are. You are that one person who's going and doing so many different roles in the same day. So there has to be a way that you decompress, say, okay, this is what happened, this is what I learned, this is what we're going to do tomorrow. Today I'm fine, I'm okay for the evening, let's go meet my kids, or let's go meet my partner, let's go meet my friends, let's do something else.
Right. So you're saying have your rituals in place that take care of you.
Yeah.
Right? I'm asking the same question from a more organizational point of view to say that when I go into work, as an organization, what do I need to do in order to ensure that my employees don't burn out?
Yeah. So I think from an organizational perspective,
let me put it this way. In terms of your personal journey, you experienced something that was very intense. You're sitting here and talking about it in a calmer way, but that day when you fell asleep on the wheel and you woke up, you must have shocked yourself and thanked your stars you weren't driving.
Yes.
Right? What would have made it easier at work for you to have not gone so much into the extreme?
Yeah. Okay, so this was back in 2016, right? So this was even pre-COVID. So a lot of mental health, well-being at work, all of these things were not spoken about a lot.
Right.
It was in very few places where the leaders itself were very conscious about it and started bringing that into the culture. So I would have said at that time, if there was a way that, there was some program that kind of brought attention to, if you work like this, these are the things you might go through. Are you experiencing it? That is something that would have helped me, because coming from India as well and being a 90s kid, so much of this was stigmatized.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you said, we have grown up in the push through, do whatever it takes, stay the longest, be the earliest, all of these factors. So coming from that culture and conditioning, you have no vocabulary around this situation about what are the effects of continuing to do this long term. So if that was brought to highlight, I don't know if that would have really made a difference, but at least it would have sparked some sort of awareness, or, saying that maybe I should look out for this, or, when I woke up in that start, maybe that would have given me some vocabulary, which didn't come much later when I started going to my coach.
Yeah, there's a thought that's come to my head when you said this, is that we have no way of checking in with ourselves on whether we are depleted and what's going on, right? We don't check in with ourselves. A very good example of how they changed this in one medical space was with breast cancer, where today all of us women know that we need to check ourselves regularly to avoid cancer. We know this, right? If we look at burnout as a type of cancer, right, and we start doing check-ins with ourselves, if organizations start having regular screenings, because today burnout is not, it's not uncommon, right? There are more and more people who are quitting their job and taking sabbaticals because they are burnt out.
Yeah.
But we still don't have a framework around burnout.
Yeah, or a regular check-in system.
Yeah.
It was so interesting when you were saying all these things. Today, a lot more people, I would say, are focused on fitness.
Yeah.
And are becoming very fitness conscious, and they're wearing a lot of wearables, right? Like you'll have your Fitbits and your Whoops and your Aura Ring and, all of those things. And I wasn't a person who actually wore one of these things till very recently. And now I wear it all the time. And in that, it also shows you your stress levels.
Right.
So instead of always waiting for a company to wake up and say, this is something that we need to put in place for our team. You can do that for yourself.
Sure.
Now there's a lot more talk about checking in with yourself, having rituals. You're physically fit. Are you mentally fit? There's so much language, so many different people are talking about it because, like you said, and even today, I spoke to someone who has literally mentioned this on her LinkedIn screen after being the senior executive at a very prestigious company. I'm on a career break. She's written it on her LinkedIn page because she burnt out. So many people are now owning it and accepting this sabbatical that they need. So when you have so much available to you, you can also build in a check-in system.
And I think you should.
Yeah.
Today I feel, like I said, it's a regular check-in system that you need to have, and we need to have a framework that says this is what you need to check in once a year with yourself, right? And see what's going on, or once every 6 months if you've been feeling, if life has been very stressful.
Yeah.
Because I think what we have assumed, and this is something that I want to bring out here, is that we have assumed that we only burn out because of work.
Yeah.
Which is terribly untrue.
Yeah.
Like in your story, you said that one, you were doing very well in your job, but it was hectic, right? And you were delivering what you needed to. However, you were a new mother.
Yeah.
And so you had a whole new role that you had to deliver in, right? Properly.
Yeah.
And you will also burn out because of things happening in your personal life, right? I know a lot of men, not just women, burning out because of financial demands, right?
Yeah.
They don't have an option of quitting their job. I know a lot of women don't have the option of quitting their job, but I also know there are more women who have the option of quitting their job than men in many cultures, right? Because they're married, the husband is the provider, we're still living in that kind of a dynamic. And in that scenario, a man does not have the leeway of quitting, right? And so when they are exhausted, we look at it and say they're exhausted because of work and they're burnt out. But a lot of times they're burnt out because of what's happening in their personal life in terms of demands.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's not a loving family and the demands are unrealistic. It's just that's the kind of life they want to live.
Yes.
And I see that happening today a lot in a fast-paced place like Dubai, where we are all at the risk of it. Because we all want to live big lives.
Yeah.
Right? You want the next bag, you want the next sunglasses, you want the next car, you want the next house. Today, real estate, boom, you've not invested. What do you mean?
Yeah.
So, what does one do to kind of stay real?
I think I would go back to my non-negotiables again, because it is so important to have that check-in with yourself, and there are so many different kinds of rest, right? Because yes, it would be great if you're in that position to take a break. I was in that privileged position, I would say, where I could take a break and still not, like my lifestyle was still my lifestyle, right? Like nothing changed over there, thankfully, because my husband was supporting me. But today, a lot of men I've coached some men, and some of them have even told me I don't have the luxury of burning out or taking a break. So with them, I would say, let's talk about the different types of rest. Because when we talk about rest, everyone only thinks of a holiday or get enough sleep, you'll be fine, or just don't do anything. Just sit and just don't do anything. But there's so many different types of rest. There is something called social rest. If you've been out there a lot, if you've been networking a lot, or being in front of a lot of people, you need to take a break from that and take some quiet time.
Or vice versa. If you haven't burned out enough, you want to be sitting around with people who fill you up, right? Who fuel you.
Yes. And so whatever you've been doing too much of, do the opposite.
Right.
So that you get fueled from that as well. There is also creative rest, because especially with high achieving or executives and people in a high demand jobs, they're problem solving minute by minute. So problem solving is also a creative way of using your brain. So having any sort of creative rest is great. So for a person who's only in the boardrooms or only working on a laptop on Excel sheets, going outside and doing something like a painting workshop, or going and looking at art in an exhibition, or doing anything else, making Lego with your child, that is also creative. So that is creative rest. Basically, again, whatever you're used to doing a lot, doing a little bit of the opposite in that same area. So it helps you to fuel that part of you as well. There's also spiritual rest, because after some time you have to have something higher that you are looking to help fulfill. So, and that doesn't always have to mean it is job related or it is family related. It can be anything. Oh, I wish I finished this one painting in my lifetime.
That's a very interesting piece that you say, because we also come from a culture where, or a lot of people, we've not been taught to have hobbies.
That's
Having a
interesting.
hobby or doing something that is not going to make you money, putting time into doing something that is not making you money, that's not a career,
Yeah.
is looked at like a waste of time.
Well, till now, because that is so true. I have met people who want to start their own businesses and are talking about, I'm very good at this. This has been my hobby for the longest time. How can I monetize it?
Yeah.
And then we have to sit and talk about if that is actually a monetizable skill.
And I do have to say this today, when you live in Dubai, we have the privilege of living balanced lives. It's available to us,
Yes, it is.
right? Because as a society and culture, people are allowed to leave work on time. People are allowed to come to work on time. People are allowed to switch off at some time, at a certain point.
Yeah.
There is leeway here. It's not that it's not there. Plus, when you go home, there's a lot of things that you can do.
Yeah.
Right? You can get out again. You can go play a sport. You can go for a walk. You can go for a pottery class, for a painting class, in and around your place.
You can also get help to manage the house.
Yeah.
And still have that time for yourself and not feel like, oh my God, I'm not living up to whatever.
So the bottom
idea
line is that you need to give yourself permission.
Yes.
That's the big piece that I feel like is coming through from in our conversation.
Yes.
That giving yourself permission to use your resources to make your life easier, giving yourself permission to use your time better, giving yourself permission to switch off. But all of this involves also overcoming fear of loss, fear of not being seen, fear of being left out, left behind.
All of that fun fears, right? And also also the fear of saying, oh my God, I want to do something different from what I was raised to do.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Because you're dropping conditioning.
Exactly, because all of this, why are we not giving permissions to ourselves? No one is holding a gun to our head anymore.
Yeah.
Right? We are all adults over here. So who is actually stopping you from giving that permission to yourself?
Yeah.
It has to come back from, these are what I believe adults should do.
Yeah.
And I remember even when I was growing up, many people used to tell me, you're in school, enjoy these years, because once you finish school or once you finish college and you start working, it's all downhill from there. And I used to think like, why?
What a nice dream you're setting me up for.
Why are you then asking me to do so much? It didn't make sense to me. And luckily I used to question a lot of these things, maybe not too vocally at times, but that is how people talk. So when you actually start thinking about it, people are conditioned to live in hustle culture from a very young age.
But hustle and grind, it's like a thing, right?
Yes.
If you're not hustling, like I know for the last 10, 15 years now, we have a term for it, hustle culture, because of what happened in these last 15 years. There is this whole race to have a second and a third income.
Yeah.
Right? And I know life is expensive. And I know that we all want big lifestyles because it's possible and it's accessible and everything. And so now suddenly it's second and third income. Right?
Yeah.
And then there's the entire noise about being your own boss. You're doing it today. You've left the corporate world, you've left a day job, and you are being your own boss. what is difficult, what is working, what is something that you would wish that other people understood better before they said, I want to be my own boss and jumped into it?
Yeah. Thank you for that question, because what I want people to know before you jump into becoming an entrepreneur is that it's a 24/7 job. You know, so if you're not ready to do that, stay in your corporate work, because at least you have a check-in and check-out time.
Yeah.
Right?
And use it well.
Use it well. At least you have that ability to say, you know what, I'm going on a break. My team is taking care of this. I don't have to worry about this. As an entrepreneur, I am the team who's taking care of all those things, whether I'm on a break or not.
Yeah.
You know, so I think this whole glamorization.
Yeah, we made it cool to be replying to emails from a beach.
Yes.
But the moment the camera is off, you're burnout.
Burnout again,
right?
So what have I really escaped?
Yeah.
Right?
You took a holiday to escape your life, but you took your life with you in the suitcase.
Yes.
In your laptop.
And you're still burning
Laptop
out.
bag.
So burnout is happening in a different geographical place, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say this whole glamorized way of looking at what entrepreneurship is. Yes, there is flexibility of time, but what are you doing with that time?
Yeah.
You know, and what I've realized is, and I do a lot of this work with my clients, when they tell me, oh, the grass is greener on the other side, I want to leave my corporate job and I want to pivot, great. Let's talk about what are your personality traits. Does that thrive in a corporate setting where, you know, the processes are in place, it's a well-oiled machine, and you're there to kind of take that well-oiled machine to the next level?
Yeah.
Or does it thrive in a place where you are, like Lego, building that machine?
Also the discipline, right?
Yes.
Because as an entrepreneur, especially a solopreneur,
Yeah.
right? The discipline
Yes.
of showing up for work at whatever time in the day that you decide.
Yeah.
But showing up every day.
Yes. Yes.
Right? And doing things that you didn't know how to do 24 hours ago, and you had only the morning to figure it out, learn and start doing it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right? So a lot of this, that we are not looking at all of this when we make a decision.
Yes.
We're exhausted, we're burnt out, and we just want something different.
Yes.
Because
exactly.
we think that different is going to save us.
And that different is better.
Right.
You know, so I know of people who have become entrepreneurs and then have gone back to the corporate world because they realized that that wasn't for them. And that's okay. You know, a lot of people, I think, also put too much pressure on themselves to say, how can I change my mind?
Mm.
But that's okay. I mean, you made that decision. You can retract and, you know, make a different decision. It's okay.
There's an embarrassment in leaving a job, starting a business, and then having to go back to a job. It's seen as a failure.
Yeah. Yeah. But so what?
Yeah.
You know, it's okay. If you don't fail or if you don't try, how do you know?
But why does it have to be seen as a failure is my question,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
It didn't make me happy. It didn't give me what I thought it would give me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm choosing differently.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yes, my plan may not have worked, but do I have to see it as a failure, or can I say I tried and I realized it's not for me?
Yeah.
And so I'm going back to what I now know better.
Exactly. I would also put in a word of their judgment. Why is there so much judgment on what happens? Right? So if we take away that judgment and say, let's look at this objectively. I tried this, it didn't work. So to keep the same lifestyle, I would have to go back to this work so that this can still continue.
Right.
When there is absolutely no judgment around that, everyone's happy, everyone's going about their way. And again, it's self-inflicted judgment. What will they say?
Nobody ever knows who they are.
No, who's they?
So if the next time somebody says, what will they say, or, you know, what will they think, please ask that person, who is they? For two reasons. One, you're helping that person decipher to recognize their actual obstacles, but you're also doing the same for you.
Yeah.
The moment I started asking people, who's they, I stopped using it.
Yeah.
Because I became more cognizant and I said, 1 second, who they?
Yeah.
Right? You stop as well. So it's a great way of switching that habit. It's detrimental to you. So the next time you hear it, you should say who they.
Exactly.
Who's they, right?
Exactly.
Who are you so concerned about?
Exactly. And to stay resourceful so that you can problem solve and change your mind and change strategies, you have to have that growth mindset, right? And that growth mindset also comes from being objective and also listening to who you are and forgetting who they are. So that always has to come into play. And you have to ask yourself, am I happy being where I am,
Right.
considering what they are saying?
Yeah.
If you're happy being there, great, go about it. But if you're not happy being there, then you really have to ask yourself, who is they? Because most of the time, they is me.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, there's another thing that comes up in this whole piece of I want to be my own boss. Is a lot of people get up and say, if I can make so much money for this company, why can't I do it for myself? And yes, they have certain capabilities,
Yeah.
but they do not have certain habits, disciplines, and mindsets.
Or infrastructure.
Or infra, yes, but I'm talking about that to work, to succeed on their own. As an example, some people are able to deliver because they have a team surrounding them, not because the team is doing stuff, but because they can go to office and they have colleagues and peers around them and everybody's working together.
Yeah.
This same person has to work on their own as an entrepreneur and crashes because they have no ability to do it alone.
True.
Right? So, yes, you may be great at making money for a company, but when you have to do it for yourself, just that one skill is not enough. You need to look at your personality pieces around it.
So much more. And I would say from an entrepreneurial perspective, it's an MBA in itself, right? You have to know what your strengths are. You have to know where you need help. And just getting into that zone is so much involved right there. Because once you know your strengths and where your time is fully useful,
Yeah.
and how you can grow your business with just what you know, then it's easy to say, okay, let me outsource this, let me get this person
Right.
to help me with that, and so many other things, right? But if you're trying to be a solopreneur, which I think in the beginning everyone has their best intentions to do that, but very soon you realize you are holding yourself back in many different ways.
Right.
And the more objective you are about that reality, the faster you can turn things around.
I have another question for you, which is one of the other reasons why we burn out. One of the other reasons is deadlines and timelines, right? And I'm not talking about the ones that your boss has put on you, but our deadline to succeed. I want to be CEO at 35. I want my company, which is 3 days old, to have $1 million turnover in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Which may or may not be a possibility given market reality and whatever industry you're in, right?
Yeah.
What do these deadlines do for us? And how do we maintain healthy deadlines? And at what point do we need to acknowledge that we have turned them into pressure?
Yeah. I think, let me tell you right now, it is pressure. I think it's great to have goals, and sometimes it's great to have very super big ambitious goals, because you never know what all you'll accomplish, right? So that is one thing. But at the same time, you have to understand that there will be seasons. Okay, fine. If you want to turn your 3-day-old company into a multi-billion-dollar company, that means there will be a season where that is only what you do.
Yeah.
You will have to be ready to sacrifice everything else that surrounds that, because every action, there's a consequence.
Yeah. Also the cost of it. What's the cost of it?
Yeah, the cost of it.
There's
so
a price.
Everything you cause will have an effect.
Right.
So if you want to cause $1 million of your company, there will be an effect and a consequence out of that.
Right.
And you have to be ready for that. You cannot have it all at the same time.
How do we get to our dreams without burning out?
Just understand what is realistic. Have a great stepping stone, I would say.
Right.
Have someone who is guiding you through it. I think especially for if you're talking about entrepreneurship, or if you're talking about any sort of big pivots, having mentors and coaches really help you get to your goals faster.
Right.
I have experienced that myself. when I'm looking at trying something completely new and it's very new to me outside of my comfort zone, I do ask for help and I get a mentor on board, because that just helps me reach there faster without going through all the mistakes that I would make on my own.
Yeah.
So I would say that helps you. Also, just have those non-negotiables, because I think once you feel regulated, you can really take over the world. So you have to have a check-in ritual. You have to have those non-negotiables that keep you sane, that keep you focused, that keep you in a state where you problem solving does not feel like one more thing to do. It's just natural. Because the more you keep pushing through, at some point you disconnect. And then you're no longer problem solving. You're just on autopilot.
Yeah.
So,
okay, and I have a last question for you. If you could go back and completely avoid burnout, maybe you'd still go ahead and be a coach, which is all great, but you could do it without the burnout, right? What would you change? What would you do different?
well, to be honest, I don't know. Because that sort of hypothetical thing has not happened to me, right? So I don't know. Probably I would still be where I was, still being in the fashion industry and just having my career, but still feeling unfulfilled.
No,
because
so my question is this.
Yeah.
If you could go back and avoid the burnout, like do what you needed to not burn out, you might quit and still become a coach. Life will still be this, etc. But without the pain, what would you do? What would you change in that Ketki? My question is, what would you change in that Ketki?
Interesting. Okay. I would say, understanding how we create our reality,
Right?
understanding how patterns are formed and how patterns can be broken and changed. Having that sort of coaching and coping mechanism much earlier on in my teens
Right.
would have completely changed this entire trajectory. I probably at that time would not even have joined corporate, because after I became an entrepreneur, and today I'm thriving in being an entrepreneur.
Right.
Because I realized that a lot of why I was not feeling fulfilled in my corporate job is because I always had the entrepreneurial spirit, but still trying to fit into the box of being in corporate, because that is what I was conditioned to believe that I was supposed to do. This is how you lead a successful life. So that is what I did. So if I knew these coping mechanisms earlier on, I wouldn't have burnt out, for sure.
Yeah. So it's you're saying that from the teens,
Yeah.
right? And then we are going back into then schools and universities, more than schools, universities need to plug in certain systems.
Yes. Start having those conversations, because I remember in my first year when I had started off as a coach, I was holding workshops in different wellness centers over here. A kid who was finishing her schooling and getting into college, she came to me and said, you know what, I recognize I'm burning out. Can you help me with some coping mechanisms? For 2 seconds, I was in shock, because I was so happy that she recognized this,
Right.
being her age.
Yeah.
Because I went back to when I was her age, nothing of this came to my mind.
So we have been burning out since our teens and not even realized it.
Yes, because so much of this vocabulary, so much of this conversation has never been in our orbit.
Yeah.
For us to even think about it. But I'm so glad that maybe because we are talking about it so much, and maybe she's heard it from her peers or her peers' friends, or whoever has been talking about it has brought it into her head. And so she came to that workshop, and then we spoke about things. So, it's very nice to see that they're already aware.
Yeah.
So yes, having more of these conversations, even for my clients who are parents, I start telling them, speak to your children about it. Because when they start coaching with me, the way they parent also changes.
Of course.
Because you cannot expect your child to be regulated and have a growth mindset when you are sitting in a fear and victim mindset.
Correct.
And complaining about everything. It doesn't work that way. They learn life by observing you.
Yeah.
So you have to show those changes for them to also reflect that.
Correct.
So I think when we change, we break so many generational patterns that, yeah, everyone needs to start talking about it and start talking about regulation and coping mechanisms.
I think one of the beautiful things that has just come through, and it's the note that we're wrapping up the session on, is that even as teenagers, we are burning out.
Yeah.
Because today there's so much pressure with social media, with career choices, with the need to succeed super fast, with the need to make money and live a rich life super fast, that we're burning out in university at that level,
Yeah.
and not realizing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
and we need our education system to kind of bring in ways in which students are taught life skills. Coping is a life skill.
Yes.
Like thriving is a life skill. Regulating yourself is a life skill.
Yes.
Resting is a life skill.
Yeah.
These are all life skills.
Exactly. So not only do you have to be qualified with actual skills to do a job, you need life skills to do life.
Yeah.
So that is very important. And I think especially in the age that we live in right now, everything that we see on social media, please remember it is not real.
It's only
It
one
is-
tiny piece. Even if it's real, it's one tiny piece. It's not the full picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into what comes
Yeah.
out on
Yeah.
social media, right? And I think a lot of people get carried away
Yeah.
by what they see on social media, that they feel like, now I should do that too.
Yeah.
But understanding that not all of it is real, not all of it is happening in real time, is important.
Right. So, thank you very much for joining us,
Thank you so
Ketki.
much.
This was a really, really nice conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
And I hope that more people know how to check in with themselves and kind of not get to burnout stage.
Yeah.
They take the help that they need, or they change what they need to change in their life to cope. And also to leave you on a note saying that quitting your job may not be the answer, so don't be hasty.
Yes.
Right? And the last piece is, I hope that we're able to get this to the teenagers.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us, and there will be another episode soon. But until then, please subscribe to Humans at Work. The link is below.